Oh, yeah. Heck yeah, yeah. Where is. Oh. Da-da, da-ba, hey Thayer, what up, baby? How you doing? You know, you can keep AOI. Yeah, it feels like it's a little slim pickings, right? But just be careful because yeah, it feels like it's a little slim pickings. I would say AVGO held up the best out of these large caps. This one and old Peloton did. Not Peloton. What's it called? PLTR. Yeah, honestly, I don't know if we rage to the upside today or not. We're gonna have to take a look. Let me make sure everybody gets in okay. Bryce Daddy, what up? Oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, looks like Bitcoin's made a little comeback too. It got down to almost 98,000. Oof. All right, everybody in? Everybody getting juicy, saucy. Comprendes. Cool. All right. Let's rage. Let's go do what we do, which is the do. So, guys, the big story of yesterday is that the market had a fucking epic meltdown. Biggest stick I've seen in quite some time. Now, these days, the sticks are a little bit bigger because of the algos, but it's rare to see a 20 point drop. I mean, if you look, right, like if you're just trading some fucking puts, like look at these look at this shit, right? Like this is, even if you were like there was some pie in the sky stuff, like you're like, let me get the 525s or something, right? Like that. They were fucking things went nuts. So you had the stick of sticks. That's the fun part about doing the options, right? Is like you can trade indexes and not to stare at the stocks if you see like a big market move. So we had this big epic fade. And the reason we did was that, Ol Powell gave a nice little camel toe to the Trumpster, it looks like. And in that he changed the stance. He changed the stance that it on policy for the rate cuts of 2025. In that we were, we believe that we were going to have X amount of cuts, right? And he came in and said, "Well, hold on, there might only be two." Well, two is not very many, right? Because if you're cutting at 0.25, for example, two, not really getting you much cut. And so the market reacted very badly. And then, of course, nowadays with the algos and the machines just turning on so fast, the moves can get elongated, right? The one big sell program can really take things down. And so we have ourselves just an interesting, right, little interesting thingy majiggy happening here. And so we'll have to kind of, we'll have to see kind of how this all digests, right? I think digest is probably the proper term. So what we need to do today is figure out, was this a one-off thing or is there something more to this? And we don't actually know just yet, right? Is this a one-off thing or not? Right? Some of it is probably just algos. And then, of course, we were priced for perfection. So what I mean by price for perfection is that, we've been trending higher for quite some time, right? Our last pullback was really started on November 11th. So it's been about 6 weeks of just kind of straight grind. And we had started getting really frothy. And you probably have noticed the froth, right? We saw, stock, we're in that phase of the market where, stock after stock was really going right nuts. And we're getting into the silly season, right? Where things have just been going crazy. You have these kind of explosive moves, where like you have penny stocks become $100 stocks. And so things had been getting a little, so we doused the market with a little bit of water, right? And calmed it down. Now the question becomes, right, what's next. Is this a one-time thing or not? So there's a couple good things that are happening here. First of all, if you look at the market, we have ourselves, multiple levels of kind of support here that we just landed right on, right? So first of all, let me go to a different chart here. We've come back to the previous breakout, right? So this was the previous breakout. We tested into it, and now we also are right at that 20 SMA. So we've got a couple things that are holding up, and so we got to be, cautiously optimistic if the support holds. Now the thing is, when you come back into these big supports, you want to really do it like in an orderly manner, right? When you get a fucking monster cock candle like this just come to the downside, you got to be real, right? Real careful as we go through this, right? So that's just that's just the way these things are going right now. So let's see what happens today. We got a gap up. If we had a little bit of a weaker open, I think that would have been nice because we would have had, maybe a little bit more upside. Because now we're going to be opening back into some levels of resistance. Like if we come and we pop to, let's say, 524, 525 really quickly at the open, I mean, we'll have ourselves, a little bit of a resistance that we come into. So just kind of be mindful of some of these things. Let's just take a look at the hourly charts here real quick. And you can see here an hourly chart, right? We've also pulled back right into support. And right, we're kind of grinding this thing higher. So I think where, we would find some levels of supply is more if we start getting into, somewhere right into this kind of right into this area. I think that's where we'd run into maybe a little bit of supply, and then we'll kind of have to go in. So that's my thinking is, we keep this thing on the long side for a hot second at the open. When we start running into resistance, then we'll make some decisions on what goes down. This is we're in a little bit of no man's land. When you're just trending higher up your EMAs, everything works. Everything works and you're just going clean. Now the trend on a shorter term time frame at least has right rolled over. So now what we got to do is we've got to make some decisions, right? So we're on support. We know that this is the breakout spot. We've got numerous levels of support. How do we react, right? The key becomes how do we react when we hit our first level of resistance? That'll be, I think, that'll be where the big kind of stick comes in. Nolan, what up, baby? We're zooming today. Now, let's get into the watch list. Let's just go, let's get into the other indexes here first, real quick. So the Qs is at some support. Now, this is where I'm a little bit nervous if we follow through and roll over. The SPY has been, the 50-day moving average is very important. And usually in a very, very bullish market, like you really are trending above it. It's kind of the line in the sand. And if you break under it, like you really only have a handful of days to kind of rip it back. And we've been bouncing off this 50-day moving average for a little bit of time. And so we actually broke under. We went from all-time highs to under the 50-day moving average really, really quick. So now we're opening up into this level of resistance. And so if this rolls, then I think, it looks a lot more broken than, right, the QQQs. Now, we do have some level of support here. So if we go into an hourly chart, right, we have some levels of support here that we're coming into. It doesn't matter really how you draw it, right? It's more of a little bit of a zone of love. So we do have some levels of support, and then we'll kind of see like we'll see like what the heck is going out. Does that make sense? Good. Hot damn. All right, man. We're now let's take a look. This is, I think, the nasty McGee. All right. Boom. Look at this. We were at breakout, waterfall, 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 waterfall. Now we're back into, the most choppy part of the range that we used to be in, which was this right here. right? If you guys remember, like on the mid cap, small cap game, right? Like when we were stuck in this range over here, I mean, the market was a clusterfuck. The only thing that was going was the Mag 7 stocks when the market was back here. So we're right back inside this range. Hey, Tobias, what's up, baby? We're right back inside this range. And so we'll have to be just a little bit mindful. We're in some support, but we're also just back in the chop zone in the QQ, in the IWM. And there's really this chart is just broken now. And if you look, if the Fed is not going to cut rates that many times, then the IWM is in trouble, and it already was. If you look at TLT, this thing got nasty, and it's been dropping for a little bit of time. So since the rates topped out on November or December 6th, right? So for the last, handful of days, we've been just going down, 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 down. And then yesterday we crescendoed into this all of this. Yesterday we crescendoed into all of this bad boy. So let's just be a little bit mindful. This is broken. The IWM is broken. Now, does IWM need to bounce? Maybe. But once again, it's easier to bounce something when it's trending, not just because it gets stuck inside a range. So we're in 220 is like a big supply, big support zone. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, it's just broken at this point. And that was a nasty stick. Like if you see here on a 5-minute chart yesterday, this thing was just right. That is a no buenos. That's Spanish for no good. Bum, 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 bum. Hold on here. There we go. Look at all that, right? Just pure nastiness. I mean, you'd never see this in indexes, right? Like you drop 14 points on a $200 name is quite a bit from top to bottom. So we might bounce a little bit today. The key will be you want to look at the supply zones on the hourly chart today, all right? So like you get this big gap up and you want to start looking at your hourly charts at the first level of supplies. When that happens, you'll often get faded off. And so you want to make sure, right? You want to make sure like you're trading around that. And so my guess is somewhere in here, right? This is the bone zone on the hourly chart. So somewhere between 522 and 526, you're going to get a big supply spot. And that's where you have to kind of trade around, and you may sell off into that. So my guess is if we pop into that, the market sells off a little bit, and then Friday's usually the turnaround day, right? Fridays are always hot. And so we'll kind of keep an eye on that. Let's get into see what kind of PRs we got out and see if we can find ourselves a little PR fun today. So guys, this has been a crazy market for small caps. Like it does not matter which one. They're just throwing out PRs one after another right now, and they're cooking, right? They are cooking. So I want you to be really mindful as we go into this. Like there's some action in this. And so this is where, if you're a degenerate trader, like this is probably where you want to be. These are all going, right? Look at this shit. Fucking, Soho House, right? The Soho House. Cooler Technology. So I stay away from these, but this is where the heat is. This stock right now has 20 million shares in volume in the pre-market. It's doing in 5-minute candles 1 million shares, 2 million shares. Can't beat that, right? When you have something like that going, I mean, that's a lot of liquidity that's coming into this. So just kind of be mindful as we go through. Dudes, I mean, we got yourself all sorts of quesos on these things. Blah, 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 blah. Look at this sound. Nuke. Now, the music's going to stop on these probably in relatively soon. When? That's hard to tell, right? But in general, when you start to see like a dollar stocks, rip into the 50s, 60s, and there's more than one in a day, that's usually like your telltale sign that the market is ready to get, these kind of stocks are ready to get fucking sold off. So just be mindful. You don't want to be the last man to the gangbang on these things. Now, if you're the last woman to the gangbang, a little bit different. Hey, BBAI, yeah, these AI companies are still holding up here too. UAVS, that's a drone company. Even the quantum computing companies are holding. Look at this trip. Ba-dum-bum-bum. Was this earnings today? Anybody know? No. I'm not sure. I'll check that news on that in a second. Hold on. What's up? Bum, 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 bum. Let's take a look here. This stock's a turd, anyways. I'd be, most. Jen Bunny, where you been? I've been looking for you. TripAdvisor and Liberty TripAdvisor plan merger. Nah, junk. Hey, look at this. So this KMX has earnings out. You've got a big level to trade around here. I know it's not a sexy name. It's like CarMax or whatever, right? But I mean, if you look at the way Carvana has been acting of recent, right, the last this last year, maybe the something like this gets a little bit jiggy. You got yourself a big breakout here. It's been basing since 2022. So you got a big breakout over here. You're up about 7% right into a little bit of fun. This could work. Dude, let's add that. Hold on, let me clean up all this junk. Good. Add this. I like it. I like it. Soundhound's also gapping up 7%. Look, this tail here, that's a seller's wick, right? So now you got to, I think this one's too extended. The flag started here. So you're up a double from it. You're still about $5-6 from your 9 EMA. I think this is a leave alone for now. Yeah, I think it is. Like, you think you leave it alone for now. This is, yeah, that's a weird look. I think some of these all got some weird candles on it. Like even something like an MSTR, you know, even though it's like a little bit oversold, it's dropped $100. Like you're in weird spots now. When you're in the weird spots, like there's not much you can do. And that's the thing with these like kind of big rug days. You break all these supports. And so what happens is every time you bounce, you just run into supply. And so no longer are the bounces clean. You don't get the bounces clean. And so you got to be a little bit mindful. Hey, by the way, guys, we got a webinar tonight too. Boom. I'll be going over a couple trading strategies that have been working pretty well. And I think that should crush into 2025, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Coin, this is junk too. See how you gap up here, but you've got too much supply on it now. These are broken charts. So till these things start to clear, you can't do anything with it. All junk. Boom, 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 boom. Look at this. So now if you go and even like something like a Tesla, it ran right into the 90 MA. Bam. But now it's bounced $20. So like, what do you do? Right? Like, what do you do? Is it a long? Is it a short? Is it just mid-range? My guess is it's probably a little bit more mid-range. And so we gotta just kind of, it's a leave alone now. The chart's been broken. Good. Now, see something like this. This is still holding its main breakout. So the chart on this has not broke. Like you still are like above the old breakout spot and you're kind of still inside this. So you can do something like that, right? If you have like, say, even like a PLTR, the chart hasn't broken yet. It's still kind of in its flag. So you have like a handful of these that are still holding up. this is where you want to kind of concentrate on. If you think the market's going to bounce, you want to kind of focus on some of these names that have still some level of hold. My favorite is probably this AVGO because this is still recent earnings. And now you've retraced, $30 off the high. And the 9 EMA's catching up here. A couple more sideways days, this is going to rip tits. But in the meantime, you probably want to snag some of this on dips, till that overall breakout starts to work. So you got a good spot here. It's building. It hasn't built, but it is building, right? Okay, so this is like, if you look at more of an hourly chart on this, it's very constructive. So after the big flat top breakout, you had this big run. And now you pretty orderly kind of pulled back over the course of, a handful of days. And you still are holding the structure of the overall flag and building it. This is top of the list, right? Like, this is still holding up. So you want to kind of be mindful of that. Even old Palantir is, right, it's still holding up. It's just consolidating. So you still are building into this. And so I think that becomes important. There's not many left, right? If you look at every other hot chart that we had on our watch list, they've broken down. And so you'll have too much supply on top on the daily and hourly as the trends have changed on these. So you just got to be a little bit careful. Coin is busted. MSTR is busted. Dude, I was digging this fucking Affirm, right? It looked like such a good God-fearing Christian breakout, right? And then boom, it's broken down. And so now this has been busted. This, setup is been busted. Unless it remounts and just does a little bit of a kicker, then you have to leave it alone, right? Because now it's not a long, it's not a short, it's just we call that the penis in between us, right? You're in the back seat of your buddy's Volkswagen Beetle, right? You're not right nut, you're not left nut, you're just smack dab in it, and that's the worst place to be, right? You want to be riding shotgun at least. Oh, you got to just be a little bit careful on some of these bad boy. Oh yeah. So these have been busted. Even like old UPST, right, had a really beautiful kind of pattern going, and now it's been busted. So you gotta leave these alone. You're gonna have to leave these bad boys alone. Now let's take a look at these quantum names here. Oh shit, Jen Bunny, you okay? Dude, my dog just dislocated his knee fucking around in the parking lot. It's been so sad. QUBT. You're down already about 10%. So you can't do it. You don't want to short this into the hole. The plan on this is let it go red to green. So look, at down 10%, you're going to have the SSR on this, right? You'll have a SSR on this bad boy. So you won't be able to short it at the bid. Let this thing spike up. What you want to do on this is a fake red to green. So like if it spikes up and jams into these, right? And sucks in the buyers. Now all of the sudden, what we want to do is then look for the rug, right? Look for the fizzle. And I think you may get it. Even RGTI, right, is kind of grinding down here a little bit. And so, you may fizzle out on some of these things. QBTS, Tobias, my guess is at yesterday's ruggy, this is probably a leave alone. I'd find some new ones, right? So look, find the new ones. You got BPTH cruising today, right? So this got 68 million shares of volume. Like, you've got, if you want to trade the turds, come in, right? You got old T-Pet here. Like, you've got all these, right? You got a whole host of other ones that are starting to go. VRAR. That's where I'd probably look in and stay away from the ones that kind of have this little stick on the candle from yesterday. Unless it just sets up right. Does that make sense, Toby? Cool. Now let's get back into this. So For me personally, we'll keep this real simple today. I want to be in just the most liquid names. We don't really know if the market's going to bounce or fade, at this point. So we'll have to kind of keep, right now it's holding up, but that don't mean shit. So you got MU today, got earnings out too. Finally, 85 is like a big support. We'll see how it reacts if it gets there. In the meantime, you'll have some supply here at 96, 90, 95, 96, where maybe we'll catch a little bit of a short. I want to put this on the watch list, and it may even give a clue to some of the rest of the semis. It doesn't look like the rest of the semis are really affected by it. I thought them shitting the bed would probably take some of these down, but they're all opening up. And so these are broken charts anyways. NVIDIA, AMD are looking kind of like nasty McGee's, right? If you're going to do one of these things, you stick with the AVGO because it's got the cleanest. But yeah, let's add MU. Maybe if we get jammed up a few points, we'll get a little shorty McGee. There's nothing special though. Some these things gap down this much, it gets a little more tricky. Hey, VRTX, it's a blast from the past. Look at this bad boy. This may trade thin. You got a PR out on this bad boy. You could roll with it. It trades thin. But I'd add it. I wouldn't be opposed to taking that for an ORB. QBT, we sup, Lennar. So you can see this thing's getting rugged on, I believe this is earnings too. Dude, home builders suck to trade. They do. Now, this was the interesting thing. Did anybody notice this yesterday? The fucking VIX just went nuts. We'll have to kind of keep an eye on this. Like the actual VIX went nuts. You don't really see it ever push through like this. This may have just been a one-time thing, but watch and see if this gets crushed. They'll probably put a little bit of a boost back into the market. But you had a big breakout in the VIX yesterday, and so we'll have to kind of keep an eye on this bad boy too. And in August it got really juicy for a second, and then it's been just slowly bleeding out. But it is breaking out over here too. Dennis Law, where you fucking been? What's up, baby? The long arm of the law. Let me check this Lulu. I had Lulu on my watch list, and then I got rugged yesterday along with everything else. I think this is still holding its breakout spot. So you can see here, this is where the breakout started from its earnings. And you're just pulling back into the bone zone. As long as the bone zone holds here, like I'd watch this thing and see how it builds. And then if you get basically a candle that closes over the 9 EMA, that'd probably trigger a little bit of a swing trade. It's not there yet, but it could be. It didn't get rugged too bad yesterday compared to some of the others. I'd roll with it. CVS. Yeah, there's a couple of these kind of setups. You can do it. It's not my personal kind of fave. I was looking at this one. Like this one may have a little bit more range. This is like 150. You got rugged down to like 115. So you got a little bit of that. Yeah, Oklo's got an upgrade. Old Dan Ives came in and said put a $26 target on this. I don't know where Dan Ives came from, but he's been making all sorts of calls lately. We'll see. This was yesterday was a nasty reversal. Andre, when you have such a nasty reversal, every step you pop into now, you've got supply. And so it's not going to be, you can get an upgrade, but now you got all the supply on top. It's not the same as if you got the upgrade and you're like at or near breakout and you've got all this room to go. Does that make sense? So now you get this, FU upgrade after you just had 53 million shares on a sell down day, right? And now you can see here, you got the 50-day moving average, the 20 SMA. Then even on your smaller term charts, you have all of this, right, supply. So it's just got a little bit of little juicy. Hey, Lakpa, how are you doing? Hey, Tesla did hold the 9 EMA. So as long as it holds the 9 EMA, it's considered bullish still, right? And so you've got, obviously, it had a nasty nasty pull yesterday. That was probably, that was probably in the cards. I mean, what are you going to do, right? Man, look at these things. Yeah, there was some good stuff happening in this yesterday. You can see all these puts just went fucking nuts. They were sitting at $4 or $5, $26. I mean, that's where you want to roll with this. When you get these like kind of extended stocks, when they finally crack, like you get all this, dude. It's a lot of juice. Hey, I think this SCHO was that the Soho House, brother. I think there was a buyout on that. I think there's a $9 buyout on this. Yeah. Hims once again. This chart's been busted too. Between Amazon that keeps putting out those PRs that they're getting into whatever these guys do, the boner pills. Dude. Yeah, probably a leave alone. Hims -8% talk GLP-1 shortage is over. I don't know if that means anything. It's a busted stock. Yeah, I'd leave it alone. Let me see Google. Look, Google's holding the 9 EMA. Obviously, a reversal candle right here. And then yesterday, right, it got a little bit of ruggy. It's going to need to build now. I think as long as you hold the 9 EMA, it's considered bullish. But that is a nasty looking pull, right? So we don't exactly know how the market's going to react today. So we'll just have to be a little bit careful. I think the two that are holding up the best is Palantir, at least on the daily chart. Palantir holds up the best, right? Reddit's still holding up its structure, right? Breakout, pullback. And then, AVGO is also, right, holding up here. These look the best, at least out of the big tech. And then you have a whole host of, right, small caps that are pushing. I think it's going to take some time to kind of clear out all this supply now. You can see you're getting like some pops in some of this quantum computing names, but now they're kind of mid range. So you're going to have to, like, what is this, right? What do we do with this? Roblox still holds. Yeah, you can roll with that too. I go Palantir for the traders today. PLTR, Tesla, AVGO on the long side. On the short side, we've got MU. AMD's breaking down. So if we pop into some supply, dude, we can just take these bad boys down. And one that I do like the daily chart, I think 600 is a big spot on Meta. Hopefully it comes back and retests it. So this was the breakout spot right here. Right? See, test. So you have a breakout spot there. Now, dude, you've come back down into it and you're holding, and you got the 20 SMA there too. So this is, I would say, out of all the other ones too, you got like a little bit of a spot there also. Bam. Yeah, keep it. Bam, ba, bum, bum. That's the list. I'm sticking to it. Keep it real. Man, we got to keep it real simple today. That's the list. Anybody got anything they want to look at? Otherwise, I'm going to go do the Lord's work. Evan, where's that link? I never had these things. Bum, 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 bum. All right, let's go. Hey, Bull Magnet, let me Hey Evan, can you give me the link? All right. In the mañanas, my friends. Let's go rage. Oh, TSSL. Let me see here. I think Tesla, you give it more time. Look, even if it goes, who cares? When you have a run that like goes up 100, 200%, sometimes you need months to consolidate, right? Sometimes you need months to consolidate and do what you got to do. I would just probably leave it alone. There's other stocks out there. Yeah, AVL, this is the AVGO ETF. Yeah, that one looks a little bit better. All right. Adios, muchachos. Let's go do this.